Hello everyone, and welcome to our exercise in Introduction to Programming with Java. The topic of today's exercise is controlling the flow of your program. Today, first we will talk about big picture, then we will come to our programming tasks, and afterwards I will explain you your homework. So this exercise is about controlling the flow of your program. And this topic covers the following topics within Java Foundations exam from Oracle certification. So the first one is using looping statements. Then we will talk a bit about arrays within controlling the flow. And then we will also be using decision statements. If we are talking about OCP Part 1 exam from Oracle certification, then we are covering today the using operators and decision constructs topic. So now we will start from the beginning with our programming tasks. Okay, so first, before we start with our statements that you have already learned in the lecture, I want to explain you some peculiarities for declaring multiple variables. For this purpose, we will now create a class that is called declaring multiple variables, and we want to create main method from the beginning. Okay, so you have already learned how to declare variables in the last exercise and how to initialize the variables in the next line. Or sometimes, if you want, you can also declare and initialize variables in the same line. If we are talking about arrays, then you can even populate the array in the same line. So there is another option, and this option is how you can declare multiple variables within one line. So one line declaration for variables, and important, for the same type. So for example, we want to declare two strings. The first string is the first variable is the variable with the name S1 and type string, and the second variable is S2. This is the usual way how you would declare those variables. If you want to declare those variables in one line, then you are writing only once the data type, this is string. Then you are writing the name of the first variable, you are putting comma, and you are writing the name of the second variable. The Eclipse shows me the error because actually we have already declared those variables, so now it's okay. So here we have declared two variables. Another option is to declare and initialize in one line also multiple variables of the same type. So let us say string S3 that equals to yes, and another variable S4 that equals to no. In this line we have declared and initialized at the same time. However, this option of declaration and initialization is a bit tricky, and why I will show you right now. So let us say that you have 4 variables of integer type and you are declaring them now here, I1, E1, 2, 3, and 4. And you want to initialize one of those variables. So now this is valid, so this is completely correct. But the thing is that in this way, it is pretty difficult for you to see immediately which variables are declared and not. And from the side of readability of your code, this is not the best option. So it is better to declare in one line. If you are declaring all of them, if you want to initialize, then you are initializing all of them simultaneously. So once again, most important here to remember is that you can declare and initialize multiple variables only of the same type. So for example, if you would like to declare one variable of type number, putting there then comma and declaring string variable value, then you would receive immediately an error. So this is what I wanted to tell you about declaring multiple variables. So starting with our very first task is comparison using operators and methods. To go through this task, we first will create a new class. So first let us here close this one. You can close the window, the editor window, by using shortcut Ctrl+W, and then it's out. And now we are declaring a new class. That is, let us name it comparison using operators and methods. Okay, so let us imagine that we have two string variables. The first string variable is variable ABC, and this variable has the text inside, the letters A, B, and C. And we have another variable, also string, X, Y, and Z. The letters and Z. Okay, so now we have those two variables. Now we will use if-else statement, then that we will go through it in detail just in some minutes, but first we will just use it here. So if ABC, and we are writing now a condition, if ABC, our string, equals to X, Y, Z string, and now we are writing here the statement that should be run by Java. So this is system out println, and we are writing here the text refers to the same string. We will first write the text and then I will explain in detail. Else, if the first statement, if this condition is not true, then please put to our console refers to different strings. here we are using the comparison operator. Another statement, if ABC equals to x, y, z variable, then please write to our console system out println contents of both strings are the same. If this condition is not evaluated to true, then please put to our console contents of both strings are different. Okay, so now let's go through this code again. We have two strings. The first, the letters A, B, and C, and the second, X, Y, Z. This is second string. We are using now two types of comparison. First type of comparison is using operator equals. This operator checks whether two objects are the same. That is, whether they point to the same position in memory. The second option is when we are using method equals, and this method is used to check whether two objects have the same content. So, for example, whether these two strings are with the same context. Just a second, sorry, here should be also actually ABC. Yeah, exactly. So they are actually the same. So this is one string, this is second string. The content here inside is the same. So when we execute this program, then we see the result when we are using the equals operators. Then this is true, yes. Both of them refers to the same string. So the first part of our if statement refers to true evaluation of the condition. That's why this statement is printed out. In the second case, contents of both strings are the same. So this is also related to true. The thing is here, why did it happen, is that the Java virtual machine, it reduces the memory overhead when it is working with strings. And for this purpose, it uses specific mechanism that is called interning. That means that when Java virtual machines evaluates these conditions, in order to save some memory, it says that these both strings that are here the same can be represented by the same object, by object ABC or object XYZ. And that is why the result for first condition is evaluated to true, and the result of the second condition as well is evaluated to true. However, the Java virtual machine has some limits to how smart it can be, and this will not work all the time with operator equals. With this operator for objects. So let us have a look on another example, and for this purpose we will copy this code, we will paste it here. Yes, number 3. So now we have where is it? Here. So we open this one, and let us say that we have the ABC string is the same, but the second string is AB. And now we write that our string x, y, z is equals now to x, y, z plus and c. So we are now concatenating two values of the variable. So actually the result, if we will now print, let us first comment out this part of the code. In order to comment out large parts of code, you can use Control / and now you see everything is commented out. So we are writing now system out print line, and we want to show here the what is stored inside of value x, y, z. Where do we have an arrow? Yeah, we commented out too many curly brackets, so one of them we do need once again. And you see the content of this variable now is the letters A, B, and C. So actually it is the same as the content of the first variable. So we now take this one out, and in order to bring everything back, we press once more Control /. And now, so we do remember that when we, in our first case, when we run the code, we received refers to the same string, and contents of both strings are the same. So now we run this method, and what do we see? We see that it refers to different strings. That is why when you are comparing composite objects, so we have learned last exercise about primitive data types, and there are also composite data types. String is one of them. So when you are when you want to compare composite data types, composite objects, please use method equals, since this operator equals doesn't work all the time for composite objects.